Welcome back to Brashenomics. You know, Heather and I have made kind of at our personal mission, I guess business mission, I don't know, radio mission, to shed a little light on some of the charities that are out there that we want to personally get involved with, and that's why we introduce them to you. Megan Gibbard joins us, the executive director of Teen Feed, with her experience with youth and young adults, and also they have a big event coming up on August 12th. Well, first of all, welcome. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
It is our pleasure. Tell us a little bit about Teen Feed. I mean, the name kind of says it.
You know, it does, but Teen Feed is much more than just feeding teenagers. We work with the community to offer...
And they're hungry.
They are hungry.
I mean, I remember when I was a teenager, man, I would cruise through food.
It's pretty amazing what a homeless youth can put back in terms of dinner every night. And we serve homeless youth and young adults ages 13 to 25 a healthy meal every single night of the year. So If you look down at your watch, it's between 7 and 8 p.m. There's between 30 and 70 youth who are eating with us every single night.
Wow.
So, we do feed teens and young adults. But in addition to that, we also have supportive staff and volunteers that are there every night to connect these youth who are coming in just because they need a free meal with support that's going to help get them off the street. So the meal is why they come in the door, but really what they get access to is safe adults that care about them.
And so what's kind of the background? Is this something that's new?
Yeah, no. Yes and no. Teen Feed started 25 years ago, and it was started by nurses at the University of Washington who noticed that street youth were coming into the ER very malnourished. That started at one night. It was volunteer-driven 25 years ago, and now it's every night of the year. And homeless youth that I've talked to actually used to joke that now, today, in the University District, if you're a homeless young person, you would have to have no arms, no legs, and no friend to carry you to Teen Feed to go hungry in the U District. And we feel pretty proud of that. At least we've got that nailed.
That's right. I mean, I suppose that's a good thing.
We think it's a step in the right direction, for sure.
So 25 years of service, and it sounds like it's grown, beyond exponentially.
It has, and we do the meals well, and we do meals with over 600 volunteers. So, if
every night?
Every single night.
You have 600 volunteers every night?
In any given year, we're working with about 600 volunteers. Got it. Every night there's about 5 to 15.
I don't know, 600 volunteers, 30 to 70 people.
High quality meals. They're
no
high
kidding.
quality.
They're using that $600 cookbook you were talking about a little while ago.
We have tremendous community support. So if any of your listeners are people that have, a school group or, a team at work, if you've got 5 to 15 people and you have a night and you know how to chop something or warm up a lasagna from Costco, you can come in and help serve the youth that we work with.
That's fantastic. And so what are there, call me a little sheltered, but I live in Kirkland. I don't see a lot of homeless youth. Is it something that is more common than is maybe perceived?
Yes. And there are homeless youth in Kirkland. I have talked to them myself. So there are homeless young people where you live. But youth are pretty resilient, and young people don't want to be seen as homeless, typically. And it's safer if they're carrying a backpack and they're in a place like the University District, where there happens to be a college. They're staying on friends' couches. They're staying with a parent when they can before they get kicked out. So youth are using a lot of different things to try to stay safe in the day-to-day, and you may not know that they're homeless when you see them.
And so what are some of these, what are some of the facts or the numbers?
Yeah, people may have heard of the one-night count. And that's an annual count of unsheltered people here in King County. It's a tremendous effort, and the number there is very valuable. But what we know about homeless youth is that they're a little harder to find, and they tend to blend in. So a year ago, Teen Feed was instrumental in starting the Count Us In event, which is the youth and young adult count. This year, we had 1,074 young people participate. 1,374, youth participate. And that's a ton of kids out there that are struggling.
Yeah, that's a huge amount.
We think so.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so talk a little bit more about the one night count. What is that? But volunteers go out and you're counting.
You are. And the one night count has been happening for a number of years. And I'm sorry, I don't know how many, but it's a huge volunteer effort where people are out one night in January. And this happens all over the country. People hold clipboards and they work in small teams and they're checking under bridges. They're looking for people walking around, anybody that's unsheltered on one night. And it's a really powerful tool to talk about the scope of the problem here in King County. But again, for young people, they may not be under a bridge. They may be staying at a friend's house, and it's a different friend's house every night. So we have to have, some way of targeting those youth that's a little different.
What are some of the reasons that leads to youth being homeless? The economy obviously being tough, I'm sure, has been a big factor. But what are some of those big reasons this happens?
The economy being tough is one of the main reasons for adults. But when we talk to young people, the number one reason that youth talk about for being homeless is some sort of conflict at home. And you think, well, that kind of makes sense, right? They're teenagers. But that's notable because it's different than homeless adults. Homeless adults say the economy, they say job loss, sometimes chronic illness. For youth, the main reason is something is going on, either because they're in foster care and they age out with no place to go, because they're experiencing abuse at home. But typically the kids we're seeing at Teen Feed every night are not kids that just don't want to mow the lawn on a Sunday like they're supposed to. They're youth that are experiencing some sort of trauma or abuse at home.
And so is there a lot of education for these kids? I mean, are they going to school, or have they almost dropped out of that type of aspect too?
Boy, it's a real range. I think there are some youth who, when we did a survey recently, the majority of youth that had not graduated from high school dropped out in the 11th grade. And you think, oh, you're so close. What happened? And for every one of those youth, there's also a young person that is struggling to go to school, is wondering where they're going to sleep every night, and is coming to get dinner at Teen Feed, and it's the only meal they eat that night. So it's really a range. It's hard to generalize.
I think that's the scariest part, would probably be how it snowballs into just, if you're not in school, then it snowballs. It's very difficult to kind of get off that track.
Absolutely. And we know that the longer a young person is homeless, the more likely they are to face predation, especially for young women. The more likely they are to develop an addiction if they didn't already have one, many times learned at home or from bad influences at home. So we try to capture kids on that very first night. And when we talk to young people at Teen Feed, we asked what their favorite memory of Teen Feed was, and young people said, it was that first night that I came in because you noticed that I was new, and you gave me a clean pair of socks, and you noticed, and there was safe food there, so I kept coming back. So if we can catch kids right away, we're able to offer them resources to get them off the streets more quickly.
Well, that is it's certainly something that is noble that you guys are doing. So thank you for your participation in the community. Certainly is above and beyond. What are some ways people can get involved with something like this?
We have an endless need for white tube socks. So if you
listen to the show, the first hour, we had somebody who was wearing wool socks because he was busy. It was a very strange conversation.
Let's bring it back to socks.
I love it.
Right
this today is the sock episode.
Kids, it's wet and cold, and it's, wet and cold today. And so when you are homeless and you're walking around all day, you need a pair of warm, fresh socks. If you've got a group, you can email info@teenfeed.org and we'll help you do a sock drive. It's a real easy thing to do. There's also information online at teenfeed.org about volunteering. You could be a meal team, or you can talk one-on-one with homeless youth one night a week as an advocate. And that's a good way if you really want to build relationships with homeless youth and hear a lot of great stories and some hard stories. That's a good thing to do.
So socks and time.
Socks, time, and of course, if you have money, and this is a show about economics after all, you can also donate online. And
all that is at teenfeed.org.
You heard right.
And is that just in Seattle, or is this a national campaign?
No, it's just in Seattle for right now. But in the next month, we've got some pretty exciting plans to bring Teen Feed to other communities across King County where youth are struggling. I don't want to be a spoiler, but it may be Auburn, and it may be somewhere in South Seattle as well. So we're pretty excited about that.
Well, we've now talked about socks in Auburn twice in one show, which is absolutely incredible.
I like to bring it back.
I appreciate you doing it. And then, of course, one of our big things is we think people should get involved in the community. And not everybody can donate money. Not everybody can donate time. But people like to party for a purpose. Mm-hmm. And you guys have an event coming August 12th that I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about.
It's going to be so great. And all of the Teen Feed staff and volunteers will be partying for a purpose. So join us. There is a fantastic chef called Maxim Belay, and he wrote what has been sort of colloquially known as the $600 cookbook, all about molecular gastronomy. And he is a Teen Feed volunteer now. He has come in and cooked a meal for the young people and cooked alongside homeless youth, actually. It was really fun to see. I walked in to see how things were going, and I asked a homeless youth, hey, how is it? And he said, this guy's baller. Just really, really enjoyed cooking with Maxim Belay. So on August 12th, there's going to be an event at the Arboretum. Look at our website for more information coming very soon. Maxim Belay is going to do his molecular gastronomy reinterpretation of things that we eat at Teen Feed all the time, like granola bars and macaroni and cheese and food that kids love.
So this guy, has he ever sold a cookbook, or does he just have one that's $600?
I have not purchased a cookbook myself, but I believe that people do.
Yeah, I mean, I could sell a $600 piece of paper I'm sure it's much better than
It's a fantastic cookbook.
Okay.
I've looked at it and wanted one, but
it's incredible. We need to figure out how to write more cookbooks.
I guess so. Well, and you said that will be, what I thought was really interesting is, so molecular gastronomy, for people who don't know really what it is, you're taking snacks like granola bars and turning it into like Pop Rocks that taste like granola bars and stuff like that.
Exactly. And actually when he came in and cooked, with and for the homeless young people, he had carbonated grapes.
Yeah.
Peanut butter and jelly gummy worms. There was some other stuff. It was really phenomenal.
Fusing food and science in a way that's really cool to experience. And you said there'd be like wine pairing with that too?
There's going to be wine, crazy food, and it's all going to be for Teen Feed and for the homeless youth that we serve.
That'll be fun.
And so that's August 12th outside in the Arboretum.
In the event space there.
Oh, great. Well, hopefully you guys get good weather then, I think.
It's going to be sort of indoor-outdoor, so we got our bases covered if we...
Well, that's good, because as of right now, based on what we've seen, you never know what you're going to get here, even in August. Megan, thank you so much for joining us. Again, Megan Gibbard with Teen Feed, and if you guys want to get involved, teenfeed.org, and more information on the event August 12th.
And join our social networks.
And if you're going to Costco to get your liquor, which this is our first day on the air with liquor at Costco, pick up some extra tube socks.
Absolutely.
There you go. Teen Feed, tube socks, and Megan Gibbard. Thanks so much for joining us. When we come back, John Hugg, one of the great friends of our show, attorney with Hugg & Associates. We're going to talk a little bit about the estate planning and trusts. The stuff you probably should be doing, but maybe aren't. We'll be right back after this break. You're listening to Brashenomics.